You're listening to Texas Real Estate with Todd Tramonte, brought to you by the Patrick Glaros Mortgage Team, DP Lambert at Goosehead Insurance, and Stryker Roofing. And now your host, real estate broker, team leader, best-selling author, coach, consultant, and speaker, Todd Tramonte.
Welcome, folks. Quick question. What in the world is going on in residential real estate right now? How could a buyer possibly get a good deal on a house when there are 3 or 4 buyers fighting for all the good ones? We'll talk about that today. We'll also talk about today why Suze Orman, nationally known radio host and television host, might have had a little too much to drink this week. That's not an accusation. I don't know if she was drinking, but I do know that some statements she made and some social media posts she made read as though they were written under the influence of something that has nothing to do with what's actually happening in the real estate market. We'll talk about why she and others like her would say ridiculous things and mislead the buyers and sellers, the consumers out in the marketplace, in the world, and really point you towards a tremendous amount of pessimism when it's just not the reality. It's just not what's happening in the real estate market. So welcome to Texas Real Estate. We'll cover those items.
1 minute in, I can just see how fired up you are already.
Hot take. Well, that stuff drives me nuts. I mean, you guys know that. By the way, great intro, Mason. Still love that. I rock out every time. But that stuff drives me nuts. It gets me on my soapbox for sure. Someone that has a huge platform. And look, I take this platform very seriously. We have the largest real estate talk show in Dallas-Fort Worth, but she's nationally syndicated. She's talking to millions of people. And in my opinion, this is just my opinion, this is not an accusation, but my opinion is she knows exactly what she's doing. She's just trying to perk up eyeballs and ears and get attention. She might believe that. If she believes it, she's just not paying attention or reading or watching. She's certainly not a real estate agent, but it's crazy. And because of that, it's my excitement and passion and joy to come give you tips on how to go actually get great opportunities in this market. So we will answer the question that we've been kind of teasing all week. You know, what are the 3 best things a buyer can do in this market right now to get a great deal, even though technically speaking, statistically speaking, sellers have tremendous leverage over buyers right now. That is true. But there are still strategies for buyers to succeed. So we will get into those strategies a little bit later in the show, and we will break down exactly what Suze Orman had to say about her point was don't buy a house right now, wait until later in the year. And her reasoning was nuts. I mean, just absolutely berserk, crazy, not logical at all, not based in fact.
So I'm going to say you don't agree with it.
I don't agree with it. In case you were having to read between the lines, you weren't certain on how I felt about it. But I hate to say how I felt about it because it's not about my feelings. It's about what the reality of the marketplace is. Some of that has to do with she's speaking to a national audience and we're right here in Dallas-Fort Worth, but there are almost 0 places in the entire United States where what she said was true. So we'll get into that later. Real quick, if you ever have questions for us, you can send them to us. You can go to our website and hit contact us and submit your questions there. TREradio.com. TRE is short for Texas Real Estate. TREradio.com. Or you can always find me or the show on social media. Facebook's probably the best place, just at Todd Tramonte or at Texas Real Estate with Todd Tramonte. Any of those places, you can send us your questions anytime you like. We'll take those as they come. Ian's already got those piled up, so it's time to introduce the one and only, the English wonder, Yanni Donnie, Ian Daniels. Let's speed it up today because I want to tell a story about you, whether you like it or not.
Good.
But let's ask the question that everybody can't wait to get the answer to. How English will you be this week?
More than I probably would like to admit, since I just got back from 4 days golfing in Wisconsin in Whistling Straits, which was a fantastic time and absolutely destroyed me.
If you tuned into the show 2 weeks ago, Ian said something along the lines of, it's going to be a very English trip. He was picturing Wisconsin as this colder, overcast, windy, rainy, very English setting.
Yeah.
And just for the sake of time, one-word answer, is that how it was?
No, it was hot.
The answer is no, that's
and
not
humid.
how it was. I'm looking through the glass right now at Ian, and he's peeling. His face is peeling.
Face is peeling. I'm still wearing Crocs because my feet are blistered.
All right, folks, that's Ian's hard sell for golf, summer golf in Wisconsin,
folks.
Anyway, Ian's back in studio. We're glad to have him. We do have...
Almost in studio, slightly outside.
We're socially distanced, so he's actually outside of the studio wall, but we can see him through the glass, so it's going to be just fine. We do have producer Mason here, the young MG, Mason Goss, and he doesn't have a microphone this week because Ian's back.
Sorry, Mason.
But... we may have to still turn the mic and get a quick update on the 2-year flip. They were able to technically, officially move into their 2-year tax-free profit investment this week, but they may or may not actually be sleeping there yet. So we'll talk a little bit about that at some point later in the show. We do want to get to your questions as quickly as we can. This segment is brought to you by Patrick Glaros and his phenomenal mortgage team over at Cardinal Financial. Anytime I have a question about mortgage financing, Patrick is my first call. And I actually called him early this week, I think Monday or Tuesday, doesn't matter. My wife and I were looking at a potential investment property, and my very first call was to Patrick just to say, hey, man, here's the setting. Here's what we're thinking. What would the options potentially be? He walked me through it really quickly and then sent me some follow-ups with even more options. And that's what you'll get if you'll call him as well. Absolute expertise. In my opinion, the very best mortgage expertise here in our market and really anywhere in the country. Whether you're buying a first house, refinancing, second home, investment property, lake property, anything like that. Patrick believes what we believe, that God gives each of us unique gifts and abilities, and so he's put together a team of people with differing gifts and abilities so that you, as a buyer, borrower, investor, will get the absolute top-notch expertise you need at every point of the way, whether it's figuring out what your options are, figuring out your underwriting process or what your interest rate might be, or the best way to fit a mortgage into your overall wealth-building strategy. If you have mortgage needs, do what I do. Go to patrickglaros.com. That's patrickglaros.com, or you can call him at 972-728-3420. Or if you ever forget the information or the name or the website for any of our recommended pros or our friends, you can always go to treradio.com and get access to all of our recommended vendors, access to past radio shows, send us your questions, and a lot of other things over at treradio.com. I know we've got some questions piling up, so let's start with one right now.
Hey, while we're at it, why don't you go to valuethishouse.com, get your home valuation in less than 1 minute, about 50 seconds, and you can have a home valuation. If you want something a little bit more custom, just reply to the email and just say custom valuation, and we will get on that for you and give you a quick call. Valuethishouse.com. All right, let's get into let's go with this one. Just kind of what are some of the top tips and tricks right now for getting a home under contract, Todd? What are some of the main things you can tell a buyer right now?
You know what that's called, Ian? That's called paying off the teas, right? We've been talking all week about how we would give some buyer tips in a seller's market. So I'm going to give them to you in about 1 minute. But before I do that...
So you have 1 minute to go and get a pen to write down these tips.
Great. Excellent point, by the way. Ian's back, folks.
Thank you. I'm here.
Back in action.
Yep.
All right. While you grab your pen, if you're driving, don't do that. But I want to set this up. And the reason I want to do is to be very clear that we are in a seller's market. What I mean by that is there are very few homes on the market, and there are a lot of buyers who want them. So low supply, high demand means prices are going up. Wink, wink, Susie Orman. That's where we're headed. The facts. But before we get there, low supply, high demand means prices go up, competition goes up, multiple offers on really good properties, not every property, but on the good properties that are in great condition, priced well, and marketed well. So if you run into one of those situations as a buyer without a good strategy, you're basically helpless other than to spend a lot of money, right? You're at that point without a great strategy, your only strategy is to pay more than the other guy or the other girl, right? Wrong. Well, that is right, but that's not the right strategy for you. That's the wrong strategy for you if you're listening to us, or by all means, if you're one of our clients at the Todd Tramonte Home Selling Team. So I'm going to go ahead and give away 3 really good tips, maybe more. I don't know if I can stop at 3, to be honest with you, but I'm going to give you at least 3 tips on how you as a buyer can get a really great deal. You can get a home under contract, you can have a better shot at getting a home under contract and still get a really good deal. So number one, and this is going to sound like the least exciting one, but this is really important. You've got to have a strategy in place, a game plan in place before you begin to look at properties, right? So that sounds obvious, but a lot of people don't do this. They rush out, they look online, they fall in love with the house, they call the name on the sign, or they call an agent and go see it, and they want to make an offer right away. The problem is you're trying to do too much too fast at that point to be really competitive with other offers. So at that point, again, it's a last minute impulsive kind of Hail Mary option. And really your only big lever at that point is price. So you're probably going to have to overpay. You're probably going to have to beat someone else out or impress that seller with price.
We get asked, I speak to people every week where one of the things that they'll say, right off the bat is, hey, when I see something I like, I'll let you know.
Right.
And by that time, it's too late.
It's too late, yeah. And what they're saying is, hey, we're not ready to have a strategy session with an agent. We're not ready to think about our strategy before we're in the heat of the moment. And so sometimes people just are not willing to be led towards what's best for them. And so we have to tell them, okay, I don't think that's wise for you, but I wish you the best. We're not going to be the best person to help you because that's not the best strategy for you. So people are reluctant to do this, but it ends up hurting them.
Well, I don't think people realize that they can do it too.
Right.
Like the industry as a whole has done a really bad job of trying to educate and inform clients, people that are looking at homes, that this is a really good option.
Absolutely. I mean, the tradition is let's rush out. I'll meet you at the house. We'll grab a cup of coffee and we'll go show the houses or whatever. That's too little, too late, right? Because once your emotions get rolling downhill and you fall in love with a house, your judgment is no longer, you're not able to make wise, sound judgments about the strategy, right? And now you're calling a lender and you're trying to throw all that together last minute, and it's going to end up being, you're going to end up paying more than you would otherwise need to. So strategy one is to get a great strategy in place up front, to get a game plan in place up front. Now, strategy two is to make strategic offers, okay? Part of this part of this definitely involves having already spoken to a lender, right? If you're going to borrow money at all, if you're going to make a cash offer, that's great. There's still strategies to put in place earlier. But if most of us are going to be, getting a mortgage. So in order to do that, you have to have spoken with a lender, figured out your comfortable budget, not just your max budget, but your comfortable budget, figured out what your flexibility is with down payment, earnest money, option fees, things like that. If you've done that, if you've done the pre-strategy piece, now you can make a really compelling offer. And here's a couple of quick strategies. We'll call this one strategy, but it'll be a few, right? More earnest money will make an impression on a seller. It will show them that you're serious, that you're willing to put more money on the line up front. If you don't know what earnest money is, maybe we'll do a follow-up question on that, or we could talk more about it later. But it's a semi-refundable deposit that tells the seller, I'll put some money down up front to let you know I'm serious about buying your house. Shorter option period, which a lot of people would call an inspection period, that tells the seller, I'm not going to ask you to tie your property up not being on the market for any longer than we need to evaluate the condition of it. That's a sign of respect and a sign of, working together to get a deal done. And then there are some other intangibles like larger option fees. I will pay you more to take your property off the market while I evaluate it for a shorter period of time. So there's a few. I could give you a ton more, but for the sake of time, there's a few that can help you be competitive with an offer. Now, if you have a great lender like Patrick Glaros and his team at Cardinal Financial, your lender might actually offer some sort of guarantee. Patrick and his team will actually guarantee that your property will close on the date in the contract, or they will pay the seller every single day that it's delayed if it has something to do with the mortgage. The only caveat to that is that everybody provides all the documentation and everything needed for them to get that mortgage closed. So that actually helps a seller view your offer as legitimate, well put together, and attractive to them. Oftentimes even more attractive than an offer that might have a higher purchase price on it. We regularly help our buyers win in multiple offer scenarios where we are not the highest offer, because we have the most clean, trustworthy, well put together, attractive offer of 2 or 3 or 4, 8 or 10 offers. And sometimes it is 8 or 10 offers. So there's a couple of quick tips there. Let's call tip number 1, get a strategy to play in place up front. Tip number 2, put together a really well-crafted strategic offer. And we gave you 3 or 4 tips built into that. Now, tip number 3 is actually the most important of all, and that's working with a world-class, full-time professional real estate agent, right? Obviously, that sounds self-serving. At the Todd Tramonte Home Selling Team, that's who our agents are. They are world-class, full-time, dedicated professionals. Of course, we'd love to earn your business, but for some reason, if it's not going to be us at the Todd Tramonte Home Selling Team, you still need a world-class professional agent because you might have done the work up front. Very few people do, but you might have put that strategy together. You might have put together a really well-crafted offer. Very few people do, but you might have. And then you have a real estate agent who has another job that's not real estate, and they don't respond to that agent for 6 or 8 hours because they're, quote, at work, and work isn't real estate, and you lose the deal because of that. Or maybe they are full-time, but they're really not world-class. They're not an expert. They're sort of winging it. They're well-intentioned. They're really nice. They're really smart, but they're just winging it. And so 2 or 3 words on one phone call turn this deal the wrong way, and all that work you did still ends up costing you an extra $10, $20, $50, $100,000, depending on your price range. So number 3, in my opinion, is the most important, and that's that you work with a world-class, full-time, dedicated, expert real estate agent who's not winging it all by themselves, who has a team and or vendor partners, systems, resources, process for you to win and win big. That's how we at the Todd Tramonte Home Selling Team are breaking records, all-time high sales prices for our sellers, but unbelievably record-breakingly low or well-put-together deals for our buyers. And we always guarantee you that we'll save you at least $5,000 on the purchase process of buying a home when you work with our team. If you're interested in working with our team, you can call us at 214-310-0008, or you could text us at 214-310-0008, or you can go online anytime to overunderagent.com. The website is built for our sellers because we guarantee to sell your home over the average price and under the average time. But as a buyer, if you go to overunderagent.com, same exact deal. Just put in your basic info and let us know, hey, I'd like to buy in this area at this price, or I'd like to figure out my budget, or I'd like to know what areas are fit for me, or I'd like to know what my timeline needs to be and all that kind of stuff. So go to overunderagent.com. We can help you buy or sell. We guarantee you to put together a really incredible deal for you, and we can make that happen. Either way, if you haven't checked your property value recently, you want to go to valuethishouse.com. You can do that in under 1 minute. In normal market, I would recommend you do that twice a year, once in the winter, once in the summer. But in this market, with all the volatility with COVID-19 and the stock market and political unrest and all this craziness, I recommend you check your property value every single month just to keep an eye on it, make sure you're taxed correctly, make sure you're managing your home and your real estate and your overall wealth building or debt reduction or whatever your financial strategy is right now. Go to valuethishouse.com, find out your property value in less than 1 minute. And right now, I recommend you do that every month at valuethishouse.com. Now, I know we have a lot of follow-up questions mounting right now, so we will get to those here in a second. But a lot of people are asking a lot of questions right now about remodeling the house or doing some repairs because you've been in the house more. And so I want to point you towards Stryker Roofing, primarily for your roofing needs, but they also do some remodeling. They've done a patio cover for us recently, did some roof work for us recently, did a complete interior remodel for one of my very, very good friends recently, and are doing some bigger projects for several friends. So if you have a need for roofing and or major remodeling, reach out at Stryker Builds, B-U-I-L-D-S, StrykerBuilds.com. Make sure you tell them Todd Tramonte or the Todd Tramonte Home Selling Team sent you over there. They'll make sure they get back to you quickly, kind of give you that front of the line service. StrykerBuilds.com for all your roofing needs and your remodeling needs. StrykerBuilds.com.
You mentioned, as you were answering the previous question about earnest money, option money, give us an idea. Just there's going to be a lot of people that really have never even heard of those terms, or it's been such a long time that a good refresher is valuable. A little bit more of an explanation. What is earnest money? What is option money? How much is it? Do you get it back? Do you lose it? Give us a quick rundown on that.
Yeah, so I consider earnest money a semi-refundable down payment, right? Now, that's not exactly the way it's worded in the contract, but That's what effectively it is. It's on page 1 of the Texas standard promulgated contracts as part of basically, you have a down payment, a financed amount, or a cash amount if it's all cash purchase. And then you have the amount of money that you're willing to send, usually to the title company, to be held in an escrow account, basically to be held in like a neutral third-party account. And it'll be dealt with later depending on what happens with the contract. If everybody moves forward and you purchase the house, then the earnest money would just apply to your purchase price. It might be a part of your down payment or your closing cost or something like that. If you were to back out and you were able to back out within the terms of the agreement, you should get that earnest money back later. If you backed out and it was not within the terms of the agreement, you would forfeit that earnest money to the seller or to the other side of the contract, and maybe some other repercussions too, depending on how that works out. But that's earnest money. It's about 1% of the total purchase price of a home most of the time. That's not a rule. That's just kind of what's normal in our local market. There's no mandate of what that amount is. There's not even like a set instruction on it, but that's about what it is kind of traditionally has been in our market. On higher end homes, it could go up or down a little bit. On lower end homes, it could go up or down a little bit. But in the average home, let's just say a $300,000 house, you're looking at about $3,000 of earnest money. Now, I gave you a tip before as a buyer. If you offer more in earnest money, that can help you in a competitive situation. Now, option fee, the option is actually the option to purchase the home. That is technically what it is, but in our standard contracts, it's called an unrestricted right to terminate, which is much more technical, meaning I can terminate this contract for any reason I want. There doesn't have to be a good reason, a legitimate reason. I can wake up on the wrong side of the bed and terminate this contract because I have an unrestricted right to do that. But I only have that right for a certain period of time for a certain amount of money. Most people are going to offer between $100 and $500 for between 5 and 10 days. That's a sliding scale. It just depends. The more money you offer for the less time, the more competitive you could be in a market like this. But that's exactly what those things mean. So the shortest, most detailed but still short answers, that's what those things are. Okay. By the way, all week, every week, I run the Todd Tramonte home selling team. That's where we practice this stuff. That's where we get experience and we flesh out this advice for you. I've been doing that for over 18 years now. At different points, I've owned discount real estate franchises. We are now the company I've most been proud to own in my entire life. I'm so privileged and honored and proud to work with the people who make up the Todd Tramonte home selling team. The value that we're able to deliver to our seller clients and buyer clients, we are breaking all-time sales records in almost every neighborhood we're selling in right now. And for our buyers, we're helping buyers buy homes well below appraisal value, which is absolutely strange in our market, and walk into their brand new homes with significant amount of equity, meaning they owe a lot less than their house is worth on the day they move in. We're helping people invest in properties through our 2-year flip strategy. We're helping people buy homes all cash and get great deals. We're also helping sellers who are in a pinch and would rather just take an all cash offer right now than go through a traditional sales price. We can get you an all cash offer typically within 1 day. But of course, one of our favorite things to do is help sellers break all-time sales records. We guarantee to sell your home over the average price and under the average time. If we can help you do any of that, reach out to us at overunderagent.com. That's overunderagent.com. You can call or text 214-310-0008 or overunderagent.com. We'll be back with more Texas real estate right here on WBAP. Plus, we'll talk about why Susie Orman might be crazy right after this.
Yes.
Welcome back to Texas Real Estate with your host, real estate expert, team leader, and best-selling author, Todd Tramonte.
Welcome back, folks. Welcome back to Texas Real Estate. We're talking all things residential real estate across the great state of Texas, and I still owe you a payoff on why Susie Orman might be a little cuckoo. Nationally syndicated radio TV host Susie Orman posted on Facebook and mentioned, I think, in pretty much all of her media outlets recently that You should not buy a house right now, she says. She says that you should wait until the end of the year because, and then her because was pretty nuts, to be honest with you. She says, I would absolutely wait until September, October, November of this year before I even consider buying a home. One concern is property values. Many people will have to make up their missed mortgage payments around this time. Federal employment is scheduled to stop on July 31st. This puts them in a difficult financial position, especially if they are still out of work. It's not impossible that your neighbors might have to foreclose on their home. Here's the problem, and this is where it gets really nuts. Let's say you paid $300,000 for a home today, and your next door neighbor is out of work due to the coronavirus and can't afford to make mortgage payments. So they foreclose on their home. The house goes for $150,000. Say, what? That's me. She didn't type that. The house goes for $150,000. Do you know that what that just did to your property value that you just bought? Your property now is worth $150,000. Say, what? Again, she didn't write that. That's me thinking it's insane. Because when somebody goes to check the latest comp, they're going to see, oh, well, the house next door sold for $150,000. The house down the block, just like yours, sold for $150,000. There goes the price of real estate, and that's exactly what happened in 2007 and 2008. This is the part where, like, if I was Jimmy Fallon, I would raise my pen up and start to write a note to her. Dear Susie, you're wrong.
Yes.
Please stop talking on
It is
public
2020 now, correct?
It is 2020. That's not exactly what happened in 2007 and 2008 because there wasn't a coronavirus then, and there wasn't mass unemployment due to a global pandemic then. So I would argue that we're in slightly different real estate markets, potentially unbelievably and dramatically different real estate markets. I would also argue that her opinion of what happens when a home is foreclosed on is a lot off. I was going to say a little bit off, but it's a lot off.
The best part of this is that there's at least 2,000 comments, and some of them are just fantastic.
Yeah. So I did share that on my personal Facebook if you want to go see it or read it, if you want to track her down. I don't think she's stupid. To be very clear, I don't think she's drunk or stupid. I was joking. But I do think, she's trying to get some attention. I think she knows better, but I could be wrong. She might just have a really, really skewed view on real estate. But now that we've made it very clear that I disagree, let's talk about what is true in regard to property values here in DFW. Number one, even if somebody was in the unfortunate situation of losing their job due to coronavirus and had fully exhausted all the options for delaying payments and refinancing or restructuring mortgage repayment, that's going to take a long time, right? You're going to have a much longer runway of trying to work that out, or if you were to get behind on your payments. But let's say you were to unfortunately end up in that situation where your home was foreclosed on. Well, in the market that we are in right now, with values rising every single day, a bank is not going to foreclose on that home and then turn around and sell it for half price, especially if you just bought it a couple of months ago. Right. Even if you paid cash for that house and you had that amount of equity, if you paid cash, you're not going to get foreclosed on by a bank because there is no bank. But if you were unemployed and had to get rid of the house or whatever, no one's going to sell it for half price, right? If you borrowed money for the house, even if you put a big down payment down, and the bank takes that back, they're not going to sell it for half price either because they have the opportunity to recoup all their money and maybe, if there's equity, maybe actually make some money, which is what a bank is in business to do, make some money. So that's not a scenario.
Breaking news on that one. Breaking news. Banks are here to make money.
In case you didn't know. You heard it here first.
Yes.
But that argument makes no sense, right? That's not what's happening. It's really not what directly happened in 2007 and 8. Now, there was a lot of foreclosures in 2007 and 8. And in 2007 and 8, banks were overwhelmed with foreclosures and did at times sell those homes for less than they were owed to get them off their balance sheets. We are not seeing that right now. Is it possible that some of that could happen in areas where borrowing was rambunctious and kind of unwise? It is technically possible. She used the phrase in her deal. It's not impossible that your neighbors might What a great sentence, right? It's not impossible that your neighbors might have to foreclose on their home. Well, that's true every day of every year for everyone, everywhere, right?
It's By the way, it's not impossible is just another way of saying might.
Right. It's not impossible that there might be a meteor landing on me today. Not probable, but it's not impossible that it might happen. So,
which if you follow anything to do with NASA, you'll know that actually happens more than you might think.
That's for another show.
It never makes the news.
That's for another show. Anyway, conspiracy theories aside, it was just a ridiculous article, but the reason I bring it up, it wasn't even an article, it was just a comment, but the reason I bring it up is because she's not the only one saying stuff like this. There's media all over the place. There's wannabe pundits all over the place. You know, anybody with a computer and a microphone can have a podcast these days. There, of course, are some great ones, but there's a lot of opinions out there that are not based in fact, especially hyper-local real estate data. Right? So here's the hyperlocal real estate data for North Texas, Dallas-Fort Worth area right now. Home values are rising due to low supply, high demand, extraordinarily low interest rates, and we are still seeing population growth in North Texas. Even through COVID-19, we are still seeing people move to the market and need a place to live. Did we see total overall transactions dip during our shelter in place? Of course we did, and shortly following. But for May, and absolutely you can count on it, for June, we saw the largest rises month over month in home sales that we've seen since 2001. And in some ways, if you look at that data, the largest month over month rise ever. So May and June were massive. Tons of sales, tons of activity, values going up, buyers competing for homes. So even if you had to get rid of a house, it's worth more several months later than when you bought it. So it's just a crazy article. But
there was an article this week in the Dallas Morning News that puts the Dallas Metroplex as the most valuable market in Texas,
right?
The 9th most valuable market in the entire U.S.
Yep, and their calculation of value is based on, like, you know, what house can you get for your money with the opportunity for that value to appreciate. There's no guarantee of appreciation, but right now I'm telling you, homes are appreciating. So we promised we would tell you 3 home buyer tips. Hopefully you caught those in the first segment. If you didn't, go to treradio.com where you can get access to past show episodes. You can also go directly to our YouTube channel at tthst.tv. TTHST is short for Todd Tramonte Home Selling Team. tthst.tv. Our YouTube channel has all of our past radio episodes and segments that we feel would be valuable to you, as well as hundreds of other educational real estate videos about different parts of town, buying, cost of living, selling, marketing, improving your property value, protesting taxes, things like what is earnest money, what are option fees, what is escrow, what is a homestead exemption, you know, what's all sorts of valuable real estate educational information.
And if you have a question that's not even answered there, just let us know, reach out to us, and we'll be happy to do that.
Yep, and you can do that on the website, treradio.com, or you can find me on social media at Todd Tramonte. If you haven't gotten the value of your property in the last 30 days, go to valuethishouse.com and you can get the value of your home, what it should sell for, in less than 1 minute. Valuethishouse.com. You can do it from your cell phone or your computer. You can do that as often as you like. And when you do that, you can get a monthly market report sent to you, letting you know kind of how your property compares to other homes in the market. All of that is 100% free, no cost to you. And you can get it all set up in under 60 seconds at valuethishouse.com. valuethishouse.com. Feel free to share that with friends, family, neighbors. It's a free resource to add value to you and your life. Of course, down the road, if you choose to buy or sell a home, of course, we'd love to earn your business at the Todd Tramonte Home Selling Team. But even if you have no intention of buying or selling or investing and you're just curious and you'd like some good, reliable info at no cost to you, you can get that right now in less than 1 minute at valuethishouse.com.
All right, so we are what feels like moving towards the end of the summer. There's a lot of people out there that still want to try and buy and sell. What advice have you got for them? Like, are we really, really close to the end of the summer? It feels as though Christmas is right around the corner.
Yeah, so that's because you work with us in a real estate office. For a lot of people, July 4th just happened and we're not even to the middle of the summer, but in the real estate timeline of things, if you're interested in, most of our clients or a lot of our clients are selling and buying, right? So if you're thinking about selling and buying, you are running out of time to get that done before the end of summer. Now, that's not to scare you. That's just to let you know. None of us really know what's going to happen with school this year. But schools are starting as early as August 10th. There are several districts in our area that are starting that first or second week of August. So that's like 30 days away.
Oh, yeah. We had a contract this week where the closing date was August 16th.
Right.
Which is the 16th.
That's not that far off of a closing, right? That's like a 5 or 6 week closing, right?
That's
Which
the
is
middle of August.
Fairly normal, right? So that's, give or take a week or so, that's back to school for pretty much everybody. If you don't care about back to school, well, then technically summer runs a little bit longer. But if you care about school, we are at that point now where it's not panic time, but it's crunch time. If you wanted to buy, you really need to find that house in the next week or so. If you want to sell and buy, it is absolutely crunch time because we need a couple extra weeks just to make sure that you don't end up homeless in between that selling and buying process. Now, we can still get that done as quickly as 20-something days, but that means we find a buyer right away and you find a home right away. We're confident we can do that, but that all depends on you and your preference and your taste and your family and your situation. So it can still be done, but we are getting to that point of summer where if you want to get that done before school starts, whether it's in-school, virtual, combo, or whatever the case may be, it is crunch time for that. So if you're wanting to buy and or sell a home before school starts, you need to call or text our office right now. 214-310-0008. Call or text 214-310-0008 or go online anytime, any device you want. overunderagent.com. overunderagent.com. That's the name of the website because we guarantee to sell your home over the average price and under the average time. So it's overunderagent.com. If you're buying, you can still go to overunderagent.com. It's a great way to get in touch with us, or of course, call or text 214-310-0008, or feel free just to Google Todd Tramonte or Google Todd Tramonte Home Selling Team. There's over 200 reviews there. You can check out what our past clients and thought about us and what their experience with our different team members and our process was. But if you're trying to buy and or sell a primary home or an investment or a vacation home or anything like that before the end of summer, before school starts, you really are running out of time.
Yeah, and if you go to overunderagent.com and you are primarily focused on buying, there's a whole section on that website dedicated to buying. It talks about the $5,000 guarantee that we have, talks about a few of the other things that we do. There's a whole section there. Go there, get in touch with us, and we'll connect with you.
Yeah, the same website, you can search every single house for sale by every single real estate agent in all of North Texas. So if you're just wanting to go play and search homes and get a feel for things before you talk to someone, you can still go to overunderagent.com and you can search homes anywhere in all of North Texas and beyond, really. You can save a search. You can search by map. You can search by address, zip code, school district. It's all there for you as a valuable resource. Of course, if you buy or sell a home, I want to be the broker. We want to be the team that helps you do that. We want to earn your trust and help you do that. But it's okay if you don't want to do that for another year or 2 or 5 or 10. And even if you have another agent who you're thinking might be your go-to agent, that's okay. We don't mind. We're happy to still provide all of these resources for you at no charge whatsoever. If I bump into you in the grocery store, I'd love to shake your hand if we're at that point or give you a kind of an air high five. But I'd love for you to see us as someone that added some value in your life, whether we ever technically transacted business or earned a commission at all. That's okay with me. We would love to add some value in your life. So head over to overunderagent.com. You can search homes. You can get seller information, buyer information. You can set up a time to chat with us. Go to valuethishouse.com to get property value, and we're happy to add value for you in whatever way we can.
I've got an amazing story that I want to get to before the end of the show from this past week. It really, really is. This might be one of my favorite stories.
I know the story you're talking about. Let me ask you a question.
Do it.
And then you can tell a little bit of that story, and maybe I'll help you unfold the story a little bit. But how often do we get a call from someone that says, look, I tried to sell my house with another real estate agent, and it just did not go well. So I'm a little skittish. I'm a little skeptical. I've heard about you guys and your guarantees and your promises, but I've had at least one bad experience with a real estate agent. So, convince me.
Yeah, I talk to at least one person a week, maybe more. That's the exact story.
So I would say between you and our marketing specialist, we're talking to 2 or 3 people every single week.
Yeah,
right?
I think we're somewhere around probably 10 a month.
Okay.
Is how many we're talking to that have had on one level or another that type of story, and this was the case with this one too. It was a home in McKinney, and the home had been listed for 40 days.
Yep.
And they had well over 50 showings, but they didn't have any. They had no offers. They ended up terminating that particular that contract with that agent. Mm-hmm. Reached out to us. We raised the price by $5,000.
Time out. So it was on the market for 40 days, which in McKinney is about the average time for a good home to sell.
Yep.
It was priced fairly well.
Sure, they had 50 showings,
which means people saw it on the internet and said, yeah, it lines up. Yeah. Let me go see it. 50 showings in 40 days is a lot of I don't care who you are.
It's a lot of showings.
Very rarely do we see other agents doing that.
Yeah, a lot of showings. So
that's honestly kind of something was working. The price wasn't bad. So then they came to us, they hired us, and then we raised the price?
Yeah. So Jeremy, myself, and Robert, we all sat down. We took a look at all the numbers we could find and began to put together that
story
number.
Again?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so what Ian's explaining is on our team, even though you'll have an agent who's your dedicated agent, that you'll never only have that agent. 3 different people, 2 of our key administrative team staff leaders and one of our outside marketing specialist agents, all 3 got together and put together a pricing strategy for this one property. So it's important that when people hear that, they know what that means. This client was skittish about their past experience with an agent and found out very quickly that they were going to have an incredible experience with not just their agent from our team, but with a lot of our team members pitching in to help out. So if you'll retell that part.
Yeah. So we do this every single week. And anytime we're about to put a property, quote, live on the market, so publicly accessible to people, there's at least 3 of us that are taking a look at it every single week. And we want to make sure we get the pricing right. I tell people this all the time on the phone, and we have to do it. I want to make sure that we're doing it because we're keeping our word to our clients on that. So we got together, we all took a look at the numbers, and we decided the best pricing strategy for this particular home was to raise it by $5,000. Okay. We put it live, active on the market. It's 6 days. We had it sold for more than they were asking previously. Plus, we got the buyer to pay title.
Okay, so let's recap. In 6 days, we were able to sell the home for more than they were not able to sell it with another real estate agent for 40 days with
Correct.
50 people coming through the house and viewing it.
Yep.
And we were also able to have the buyer pay some of the seller's closing cost in addition to paying more than they were even asking before with another agent.
The buyer paid the seller's title policy.
Right. So if you're paying attention closely, this is not normal. Now, I will admit, it's just normal for our clients, normal on our team. We don't promise that all of those things happen every time, but what we do guarantee is that we will sell your home over the average price and under the average time. Guaranteed, if we agree to work with you, and we do occasionally we'll have a little waiting list or, because of the size of our team, we don't want to be some massive conglomerate. We want to be relational and know our clients and have fun. And, we want them to come out to our client events at the ball game, whenever we can get back to all that stuff. But you know what I mean? We're not trying to be, the biggest brokerage in the world. We're trying to have results like this every single time.
Right.
And on average, we do. Right now, we're averaging about 7.9% over the average price. If you have a $300,000 house, that's like $24,000 almost, right? And right now we're at about 1/3 of the average time on market, meaning we're 3 times faster than the average agent, which is a lot of fun.
Well, something I want to point out really, really strongly here, because we talk about how, we may not choose to work with absolutely everybody, right? We talk a lot on the show about how we have to make sure it's a good fit.
Right.
Okay. This was a client that 100% trusted in our pricing strategy and what we were doing, because we came to them and said, we are going to raise the price of your home that didn't sell in 40 days.
Right.
And they looked at us, and it would have been very, very easy for them to say, heck no.
Yeah.
I want to sell my house. It didn't sell at this price. They trusted what we said, and we got the job done.
Yep. And how often does your real estate agent try to talk you into raising your asking price, right? It's a pretty rare scenario.
Well, especially when it hasn't sold previously.
Yeah. So there's so much more we could say about that story, but this is not all that rare of a story. I mean, this stuff's happening all the time. If you ever hear our radio ads, a lot of our ads are just telling the story of our clients. And a lot of times we get out of the way, and other radio hosts on this station and others are interviewing our clients. And we don't really know exactly what they're going to say every time, but
it's going to be fun. I think these clients are going to be on the radio.
We might have to have them on the show, but it's so much fun when the client wants expertise, wants a system, wants process, wants a team. It's a lot like when you go hire a CPA and they have a staff. You go hire an attorney and they have a whole firm working with them, right? That's who we want to be for you, Dallas Fort Worth. That's what we want to be when you have real estate needs, buying and selling, investing in homes. That's who we are and who we want to continue to get better and better and better at being for you, is an expert with a process, with consistent track record of results, where you can come to us with absolute confidence that we can deliver on what we're saying, that we can do better than the well-intentioned, really nice, kind real estate agent from the neighborhood or your friend or your cousin or whatever. I'm not attacking those people, but as an industry, we've set the bar very low for expertise. You can get into the business too easily, but it's really hard to deliver world-class results. And that's why I started this segment by talking about how proud I am of the incredible people I get to work with. Jeremy killed it on that. He was the agent, but Ian and Robert and John pitched in as one of our other marketing specialists to always kind of give that parallel viewpoint of, hey, I agree. I like how you're going. This is how I would respond to that. And of course, our home buyer specialists are showing these properties and giving their opinion of the buyer perspective all the time.
It's why we talk about training so much.
Yep.
It's why training's so important. We have a new agent that just joined the team. Mari, will give her a shout out.
Hey, what's up, Mari?
1 week in, but Mari's a licensed agent. She was in a different market, but she's licensed. But she's going through a 6-week agent in training program that we have before she's going to be unleashed in Dallas Fort Worth to help people.
That never actually ends. It's 6 weeks of dedicated training where our agents actually don't sell houses. They only train. It's super intense. It used to be 12 weeks, and we do all the same amount of stuff in 6 weeks. And then it's ongoing. I mean, we
have coaching calls all week.
We have a training experience for our team members almost every single day. By the way, if you're thinking about getting into the business of real estate, we do have room for one more agent in our Fort Worth office and probably one more in our Dallas office. You can go to tthst.info to find out more about that. If you're looking at getting into the real estate business, tthst.info. We'd be happy to chat with you, do a little Zoom call, maybe eventually get in the same room together and talk about what an opportunity it is to be trained and mentored by myself and Ian and other team members and get to interact with Mason and the crew. If you haven't gotten your property value in the last 30 days, head over to valuethishouse.com, valuethishouse.com. If we could ever earn your business, find us at overunderagent.com, overunderagent.com, and we'll catch you next week with more information, maybe even some more response to crazy media about residential real estate right here in Dallas, Fort Worth. Go to overunderagent.com. We'll catch you next time with Texas Real Estate on WBAP.